Hey, Scarefest. This is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly with a movie that several of you have. It's not just one. I would give a shout out to several of you, but there's give it a shout out if it was just one of you, but there's been actually several of you to ask me to review this movie, and I was more than happy to do it. My best friend Chad, out of James and Chad at the Boneheads, my two best friends, told me you got to watch it. It's on HBO Max because couldn't make it to the theater to see it. It is on HBO Max, and you need to watch 2022's The Menu. Now, this movie is not strictly a horror film in the sense of blood and guts and terror. It's more, it's a really hard movie to break down. The closest thing I can compare it to, because and it's not as political as that, is The Hunt a few years ago, which was one of my favorite movies I've watched in the last 5 years. Now, it's not as good as The Hunt. Okay, let me say that one more time. It's not as good as The Hunt, but it's a damn good movie. And if you make it through to the end, that last 10, 15 minutes might throw you off a little bit. But for other folks, I think you're going to love it. And basically, what it is that this young man and this young woman are setting on a dock, and they're waiting and they're talking about that they're going to go to this restaurant, this very exclusive, as the British would say, posh restaurant, and they're going to go have a meal. And the boat picks them up, and all these other posh people get on them. Couple are one's famous, one's a food critic. She's a famous food critic, and another person's this thing. And they get on the boat, and clearly the woman is not as into it as the man. And that's where the movie starts, and it doesn't really stop after that. It's only about an hour and 40 minutes, and it stars Ray Fiennes, Anna Taylor-Joy, Nicholas Hoult, Hong Ching, Janet Mateer, John Leguizamo, list goes on. Judith Light, you may remember her from the 80s. There's a couple of 80s television shows she was on. And there's just one surprise after another. This movie is directed by a guy named Mark Malloy, whom I don't know. He directed a lot of television. Seth Reese and Will Tracy wrote the screenplay. This movie is exquisitely written, wonderfully directed, and beautifully acted. Ray Fiennes is probably the best performance, considering that the man I met him. Well, I met his performances all the way back to Shawshank Redemption. Listen to me, all the way back to Spielberg Schindler's List. I love this movie. Can't recommend it enough. The rating on IMDb is 7.3. It's probably slightly better than that. It's different. It takes you places you don't necessarily know where you're going to go. Is it completely? I mean, just it's another one of those, and you're so hard as you want to talk about it, but you don't want to give things away. I just want you to watch the movie. It has one of those fantastic ensemble casts of just great actors, and every one of them's doing a great job. And the thing that I find odd is I was going through social media before and seeing all the people going, I know this is a dark film. And really, to me, it's not so much a horror film as it is just a dark comedy. Is how many of you were just so hungry after watching it and felt so bad that you were hungry? Now, I didn't get that. I didn't really get the hunger part of it. Although I have to admit, this isn't giving too much away. That cheeseburger looks pretty damn good. But if you didn't know this about Joe Lewis, as posh as I am, I actually love a good cheeseburger. So it's probably one of my top 3 or 4 things on earth. That and some bourbon and a good cigar. And I can't have a lot of cigars. So that cheeseburger looked really good at the end. That's all I'm going to say about it. You need to watch The Menu. You need to check out The Menu. It's on HBO Max. I loved it. It's really good. It's one of the better films. If I'd have caught it 2 weeks ago, it would have made my Bonehead Weekly best of the year. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Check out The Menu on HBO Max. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. Suppose I'll see you fellers in about, I don't know, when's October?